Hey guys, it's Tara here, and if you're new to Ark, welcome to one of the most beautiful, brutal games you will ever play. Today we're talking about beginner mistakes that every single player makes. From punching trees till you die, to dying repeatedly to the same group of raptors. This is what not to do. We're starting off with the first tip. Stop spawning in the wrong area. If it says hard, don't do it. Otherwise, you might end up in the north with no clothes and you freeze to death within about 2 minutes. The second mistake I see beginners making all the time is literally punching trees until they die. Everybody has to punch trees when they first start out, but you're not going to have a lot of health. So you really need to keep an eye on that as you're punching things. The moment you have enough materials to craft your tools, stop punching trees, let yourself recover, and go harvest some fiber instead. Speaking of, another mistake that beginners make is not harvesting enough fiber. Even if you do everything to speedrun getting a refining forge and a smithy and your other metal tools, it still takes what seems like ages to get your hands on a metal sickle. So in the meantime, you're going to need a lot of fiber to be crafting things, and you get berries as well. So anytime you have a free moment, or you're running from place to place, just keep your hands out and keep harvesting that fiber. Trust me. Another mistake beginners make is walking around naked. It's really not advised. Especially when you're low level, you're not going to really have points sunk into fortitude. You're going to want to put them into health and melee damage and probably a little bit of like movement speed and stamina. Fortitude can probably wait depending on where you spawn. So definitely want to make clothes as soon as possible. Even cloth provides you with a little bit of armor. It's much better than running around with nothing. Something a lot of people don't understand when they start and therefore they harvest very inefficiently is the difference between a pick and a hatchet. Remember this, your pick is better at harvesting thatch, it's better for harvesting flint, and it's better for harvesting meat. Talking about the hatchet, your hatchet is better for harvesting wood, it's better for harvesting stone, and it's better for harvesting hide. Once you learn the difference between these two things, you will be gathering resources a lot more efficiently. For example, if you're just starting out and you're trying to get those round river rocks to get metal, you're going to be trying forever if you don't use your pick. Another thing that's common to mess up when you're first starting out is getting over encumbered. If you're harvesting something like metal, keep an eye on your weight. Otherwise, you might find yourself away from your tame or just away from your base and basically trying to waddle back at a very slow speed just because you didn't watch how much you were harvesting. If you're harvesting metal, you always harvest stone as well. You don't need it. Just drop it. You can always get more later. And if you are with one of your tames, try to offset the weight. Some tames like Argents carry metal at a reduced rate. Beginners may not realize this, but you can always walk back and have your tame follow you, so you can carry more resources back than you normally would if you just tried to carry it all on your own. When people first start playing Ark, they don't realize the value of cooked meat. You can stand around starving and eating berries. They don't sustain you in the way that cooked meat does, though. So one of the first things I always recommend doing is starting a campfire, killing a few dodos, and start to get that meat cooking ASAP. Meat heals you as well, so it's really a lifesaver just to have around, because you never know when you're going to need it. One of the biggest things beginners find challenging in Ark is knowing which dinosaurs are nice and which dinosaurs are mean. Sometimes you just can't tell. For example, all of these are really nice. Parasaur, you know, we've got some turtles. They're not going to aggro unless you bug them. But then, just 5 feet away, we've got a Thero, one of the most vicious animals. So it pays to do a little studying about the dinosaurs in this game before you go wandering around aimlessly, because you will be sorry if you pick a fight with the wrong one, or if you just walk past, you might aggro one that you don't even mean to, just like this Thero. They make great tames, but they're horribly aggressive. Sometimes it is more obvious because the predators will be picking fights with other animals and you can tell that they're actually aggressive, but it's not always that black and white, so proceed with caution. Another thing that I wish I knew when I first started Ark was how to make waypoints. Waypoints are so important. You can just go to the minimap here when you're in your inventory and at the bottom left, click waypoints. Then you can add one. Once you name it, it's there in your map and it just helps you keep track of everything. I'm guilty of not making waypoints to this day, which is the stupidest habit that I got into with Ark because it's really a lifesaver, so you don't have to find cave entrances, you don't have to find your base, you don't have to worry about finding things aimlessly without any direction. Something I see a lot of beginners doing is wandering around at night. Night is very unsafe depending on where you are. If you go into the jungle, there could be groups of Trudons. They look like a Dilo, they look pretty innocent, but they're not. They have glowing red eyes, and they will not only attack you, they will stun you and then keep attacking you. Basically, if you don't have stimulant on you, you're getting knocked out and then they will keep going ham on your body until you die. As well, it's just really difficult to see. Even if you have a torch sometimes, you have a much higher chance of falling off a cliff or getting yourself into danger. So just be careful running around at night. It's not really a smart thing to do unless you know what you're doing. And since you're a beginner, you probably don't. Another mistake I see is that people don't collect loot drops. They're really handy at all times, but especially when you're first starting out. You can get anything from cooked meat to foundations to parachutes. The white ones and green ones can carry all sorts of good goodies when you're starting out. And as you get more high level, the loot just keeps getting better. You can get armor, you can get saddles for your tames, and even if you don't find value in it, you can always save it for when you get a grinder late game, and you can grind all those things up for a ton of metal, electronics, and more. By far the biggest no-no in this game when you're starting out is not making a bed. You always want to make sure that you're working towards getting that hide to get a bed, and then make a foundation, make a storage box so you've got storage and a bed. That is going to be the thing that saves you when you die, and you will die. There's nothing worse than having to run naked basically all the way back to where you died when you could have just put a bed down with some items. While we're on that same topic, something that people do that they really shouldn't is they wander around with their valuables. If you're carrying a bunch of stuff and then you go wandering out and you die, it's going to make it really tempting to want to go retrieve your body. Whereas if you just go venturing out with the bare minimum and you die, it's not going to be as much of a heartache when there's a bunch of raptors spawn camping your body and you can't get your stuff back. Take the loss on your stone pick and just make a new one and move on. As opposed to, you went out there and you were carrying like 15 narcotic you didn't need, 8 metal spears, or I don't even know. Just don't do that. Whenever you go running out, beginners, you should just make sure before you head out on an adventure, you're not carrying a bunch of stuff that you don't want to lose. Because sometimes you can't get those things back. This next tip is kind of an odd one, but when I first started playing Ark, fun fact, I did not think that you needed to tame dinosaurs. I said, oh, whatever, I don't need them. I'm running around, I'm gathering stuff. I don't really need something to help me. And I could not have been more wrong. Every dinosaur has its own talents. Some of them are going to harvest berries better than you ever could by hand. Some of them are going to be able to carry things that have reduced weight, and all of them are going to help you be able to fight off enemies. So don't ever go around thinking you can get through this game without taming anything. It's absolutely a necessity. Don't be like me. Hello, Mr. Wild Triceratops. Just wandering through camp. Make yourself at home. Oh, there's a baby too. Oh, look at the little baby. Kawaii. Your father's over there. When you're first starting out, it's probably very tempting to just get rid of the spoiled meat because you can see it says ew, do not eat, but then it says this must have a use, right? Absolutely. Even when you're starting out, you always want to save your spoiled meat because eventually you're going to be making narcotic. So even though that seems like a useless item, and I think a lot of beginners just get rid of it, definitely hang on to it. You'll need more narcotic than you think once you start taming all these beautiful dinosaurs. There's a lot of things I wish I knew when I first started, but one of them is definitely to not walk around without a torch. A torch in your hotkey will save you in so many ways. If you get chilly at night, a torch will make you a little bit warmer, and a torch will help you find your way at night. You might think you're out for an adventure and you'll be out there and you'll get back before dark, but you'll always find yourself taking too long, and then if you don't have a torch, you can definitely make one on the fly, but it's easier to just have it in your hotkey at all times. Another tip is when you're first starting out in Ark, don't just blindly eat every berry. If you start eating narco berries, you can actually knock yourself out. It gives you torpidity. So if you're just blindly eating the wrong berry, you can actually find yourself flat on the ground asleep. Eating stim berries will actually increase your thirst, so you have to be careful with the white berries as well. You also definitely don't want to eat the spoiled meat, and you can eat organic polymer, but you will die. This is a rare item, but just a heads up if you're ever curious. I accidentally ate it one time and it killed me on the spot. Then I respawned, ate it again. I don't know why, I was just being twitchy with the controller, and I died again. And so I learned that day to be very careful around organic polymer when it's in my inventory. As you can see, I've eaten enough narco berries, not even that many, and a few minutes later, boom, I'm knocked out. So if there were any dinosaurs around here that were aggressive, now I would just be a sitting lunch on a silver platter for them. So Ark lesson right there, watch what you eat. A very common misconception when you're first starting out is that all the biomes are equally as dangerous. This is not true. For example, if you go into the redwoods, you might think, this looks like the jungle, it's probably just as safe kind of as the jungle. But no, there's all sorts of things lurking around here that you would not find in the jungle that are a lot more dangerous. The swamps and up north are also no exception to this. There are creatures in here that are very tough to battle. So, as that TLC song says, don't go chasing waterfalls, stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. And when you're starting out, that means sticking to the southern shores, at least until you can fortify yourself up enough to be able to face these areas without dying immediately. Another thing that people do all wrong when they start Ark is leveling their character incorrectly. While there is no exact science to it, health, stamina, melee damage, and weight are the 4 that you probably want to go for first. Oxygen and food can wait a bit, water can wait a bit, fortitude can wait a bit depending on where you spawn, but those other things are super important. If If you don't do this, then you'll be carrying like 10 stone and 2 berries, and you won't be able to move because you put nothing into weight. So just prioritize when you first start out. Health, melee damage, a little bit of stamina, and put into weight. Especially because at the beginning, you won't have a tame, so you'll be carrying all these resources back to base all on your own. The other tip is definitely turn off friendly fire. If you want to kill your favorite tame with a misclick of a button, fine, but I suggest turning it off. There is nothing more heartbreaking than friendly firing your favorite tame just because you were near it using your hatchet or something like that. And there you have it, some of the most classic beginner mistakes we've all made in Ark. If you've done any of these things, don't be ashamed. This is a big game and there is so much to learn. Let me know in the comments what your biggest Ark fail was because I want to hear all about it. And if you want to survive better in Ark, check out my ultimate beginner's guide that I put on screen here. Subscribe to the channel if you love everything Ark, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care!